Hey everybody, I'm back. Today, gonna tear down my uncle's 630 Jonsered. I've already looked at it a little bit, figured out what I need to do to it. So, today, I'm gonna take the cylinder off, clean the exhaust port. I've got a new muffler to put on it. This one is, as you can see, dented in and damaged. So I've got a new muffler to put on it. Take the flywheel off, and I've got another coil to put on it because this one, the spark plug end, is all messed up and won't stay on the spark plug. And yeah, just clean it up a little bit. Oh, I'm gonna do a fuel line on it too. I have a fuel line, I believe, that fits this. And yeah, when I took this apart a couple 3 weeks ago, the oiler was all jammed up with hay and gunk and whatnot because my uncle's been using this to cut hay bales in half with, which it works, but it's very hard on things. That's a good way to take your crankcase seals out. But I had checked the seals and they appeared to be in good shape, so. And also I'm going to see if I have another clutch for it, because this clutch, as you can see, clutch shoes are cracked on 2 of them. But I'm not sure. I have a couple of old 630 cases here. I'm going to see if they have the right clutch on it, because if I remember right, you can't get this clutch anymore because it's a coarse thread. So, but we'll see. I'm going to get into this a little bit and I'll get back to you. Alright, I'm back. Moved the camera a little bit. As you can hear, the wind is blowing here in Wyoming, which is pretty much normal this time of year. So, see if I can get this muffler off and then get the cylinder and all that off and see what I'm working with here. course. Okay. Yeah, she's nice and smooth, so don't have to do a lot of work there, which is nice. So, move a couple of things here. I'm just going to set this off to the side for now. I don't remember if I have a carb kit for this or not. I might just take it apart and just see if there's any gunk in there and just clean that out. But, let's see here. There we go. Got that. There's some more of that. Super fun. Okay. Gotta go rummage for a little bit of sandpaper. Got some back here. That's where you went. You were around. And in case you're wondering, this is just a Harbor Freight flex shaft grinder. It actually works pretty good, especially considering it was only $45. And get coordinated here. There we go. Oh, that's nice. Let's try a longer piece. Okay, I got the big stuff out. Ugh. I have to get after some of that with a screwdriver. I'll come back to you guys, but as you can see, it's making reasonable progress. Get the rest of that out, and I'll come back to you. I'm back. Got that polished up, or not fully polished, but I cleaned it up, got the carbon out, smoothed it out a little bit. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I just want to clean it up so that it doesn't run the risk of sucking any carbon in. You know, it only takes a few minutes. So before I was using some coarse emery cloth on here, then I switched over to a Scotch-Brite piece of a red Scotch-Brite pad, ran that in there dry, and then this is a trick I learned watching John's Custom Saws. Spray a little WD-40 in there and it helps act as a slight polishing compound, and if you take your time you can get just a mirror finish in there. But like I said, for this I'm not going to worry about doing that. This is a farm and ranch saw. It's going to be abused, so I'm not going to go to the trouble of polishing it up that much. I just wanted to clean it up so that, like I said, it doesn't suck up any gunk or anything, because it's still a perfectly good saw, just needs a little bit of love. Clean this out a little bit. As you can see, this is an original Molly cylinder, or Mall, however you pronounce it. 48 millimeter. Which, yeah, this is only like a 62 or 63 cc saw, but they're surprisingly strong running saws. I'm going to do a base gasket delete on it just to give it that slight bump of compression, which it could definitely use. I use 60 thousandths or 1/16 inch diameter solder to check my squish, and it just barely kissed it. So there's plenty of room to drop the cylinder, so that'll just a slight bump in compression, 1 maybe 2 degrees on the exhaust timing. It'll lower that exhaust timing, and then it'll lower the intake just a little bit, so it'll be overall it'll be a good improvement. It's nothing huge, but little bits like that help. So I am done with that, but I need to figure out my muffler. I also got a new choke lever, because the original one is broken and wouldn't stay in, which we'll see if it works. You can see this is the original one, and it's missing one of the tabs there. This is the replacement I got that was supposed to be for it, but as you can see, it is slightly different. But choke lever was only like $2.50. So we'll get to that. And then the muffler. Put you over there. This is the muffler that I got, which this is for a Husqvarna, not a Jonsered, so it is made for bolts and not studs. So I may have to either convert this over to bolts or make some spacers so I can use the studs. And I'm also going to have to modify it a little bit so that I can put the spark arrestor screen on it, because this one is not made with one, and I'd rather have a spark arrestor on it, because my uncle does go up and cut on national forest land, which you are required to have a spark arrestor. So I'm gonna fiddle around with some of this stuff, and I'll come back to you. Alright, I'm back. So I went through, got the cylinder put back on, got the new fuel line installed, got the new coil, or a different coil, put in, got all the panels on, got the new muffler on. I did have to go to the store and buy some longer bolts. The studs were not long enough to work with this muffler, but that's not a huge deal. I could have put short bolts in, but I wanted to be able to use this support brace. It'll help locate the muffler and keep it solid. So, before I forget, I'll grease the clutch bearing. This is a cool thing about the old Husqvarnas with the outboard style clutch. You just take your tip greaser for your bar and go right here in the center of your clutch or crankshaft. Give it a few pumps, and that is cross drilled so that it greases your clutch bearing. That way you don't have to disassemble it to grease it. At least I think that's kind of a neat little deal. So, got it filled full of gas. I'm gonna take this opportunity to prime the carburetor with the spark plug out. And that way we're just using impulse to get the carburetor primed up. There we go. Now, get the spark plug put in. Yeah, it's not super high compression. I knew it wasn't going to be because that cylinder slipped right on. I didn't have to compress the rings at all. So, she's tired, but that's the way that it is. Like I said, this is a farm and ranch saw, so not gonna put a lot of effort into making this thing high performance or anything like that. And this has the old school K&N filter on it. That was a real popular performance item to put on back in the day. Probably doesn't do a lot to keep the real fine stuff out, but it keeps the big chunks out, which is, that's the main thing. Keep the big pieces out. Now, there we go. I got the choke lever put in. It doesn't fit perfectly, but it works. It's good enough for now. Now, got the choke on, ignition on. Let's see if we can get a fire out of this. Okay. I'm gonna come back to you. I'm wondering if I don't have no spark. Alright, I'm back. So, ended up that coil that I had on a extra saw carcass, that coil was no good. The coil and trigger were no good, or at least I couldn't get them to work, so I had to go ahead and repair the coil that came off of this saw. And I think I got the spark plug boot to where it'll grab onto the spark plug consistently enough to work. I did fire it off for just a minute, so we'll step outside with this and see if I can get her to run. Be back in a minute. as you can see, runs. I got to do a little bit of tuning on it, but we'll get a bar put on it, and oh, sorry, neighbor's making noise. Get a bar put on it, and we'll go from there. Well, here we go. Got it barred up and running. Cut a little bit of wood with it to see how it does. Running a little lead. Well, there it is. Turn you a little bit there. So, she runs. Done okay, but I think I'm going to have to replace the crankcase seal on the clutch side. Because when I was messing with it before I started cutting, I'd turn it onto that side and I'd want to die, but that doesn't surprise me. It looked okay, but like I said, that was all, that oiler was packed full of hay. and whatnot, so there's a really good chance it cut that seal. So no big deal, I have a set of seals. For a 61 or 2 cc saw, I think this was doing pretty good, because that's pulling a 30-inch bar with a pretty aggressive chain on it. A full house chain that's filed pretty aggressive through pretty much a full bar of super dry lodgepole. That's not the hardest wood, but when you're trying to cut super dry wood like that, it gets hard, and that takes a lot of power to cut through that much. But like I say, it seemed to run pretty good. I'll have to do that clutch side bearing or seal, which, like I said, is not that big of a deal. But other than that, I think this thing is ready to go. I'll have to look. I don't believe these oilers are adjustable, but I could be wrong. Might turn it up a little bit. I would definitely turn it up if I was going to be running a 30-inch bar on it all the time, but I think my uncle only has a 24, maybe a 28-inch bar for it, but probably only a 24. So that should be plenty. This should pull a 24-inch bar just fine. Which I guess I do have a 24-inch bar I could put on it. This one was just handy. So anyway, there it is. And yeah, I probably won't film any doing that seal tomorrow. Just do this because my internet is slow. It'll probably take 5 hours to upload this video. So anyway, thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.